Hey there, it's Kimberly here with Knit for Brains, and today I'm going to show you how to make these really cool tassels. Start with this, end with this. So in making the tassels, the first thing that I like to do is have my yarn out and ready. I like to use a big book. Now I know for this particular project that I want to have my tassels to be about 7 inches. So here you can see I'm just wrapping my yarn around the length of the book. I'm using the whole skein because I want my tassels to be nice and big and fluffy. And I'm going to have about 12 strands per tassel. I'm going to go ahead and very carefully cut these strands, making sure that I don't cut the pages of my book. You want to hold the yarn with some tension because as you cut it, the yarn is going to spring back. And I want to try to keep my strands as even as possible. So now that my strands are cut, we'll move on to the next step. I want to very carefully grab a hold of all of my strands, trying to keep the edges as straight as possible, lay them out, and then as best you can, try to remove any tangles of yarn by running your fingers gently through it, holding one of the ends so you keep the yarn ends as straight as possible. Now I know that I want my yarn to be about 7 inches in total, giving me 3 inches per tassel with 1 inch of work at the top where that slip knot's going to be in my shawl. If you feel that the tassels that you cut are too long, you can go ahead and cut them at this point, making sure that the yarns are straight as possible, untangling any ends if necessary. Measure twice, cut once is my motto. I'm going to go ahead and measure again, and then I'm very gently going to start to cut through these strands. I like to start at the middle so I know I'll have enough room on each side for my tassels. From here, I'm going to count up 5 stitches from that center mark, and I'm going to do 5 stitches up on each side, making sure that the tassels will stay nice and even as it moves up the shawl or up my piece. Now for the right size tassel for me, I want to have 12 strands of yarn. Now that might change for you depending on what you're actually making. I grab those strands, making sure they're nice and taut, and I pull them through my work. And I gently pull on each side, making sure that all the strands are nice and tight through that slip knot, cinching it up to the top of my work. From here, I'm going to split my strands in half, so I have approximately 6 strands per side. You want to make sure at this point that you are turning those strands and twisting them towards the grays of your strand. You want to make sure that each strand that you're going with the twist of the yarn. So here I go up another 5 strands, marking that spot. And I'm going to go ahead and grab another 12 strands to do the next tassel. So as you're pulling through the tassel, it's important that you keep the strands as straight as possible. So pull a little, straighten your strands, tug a little bit more, and straighten your strands. And then once again, you're going to split that tassel in half and twist the tassel with the bias or with the direction of the ply in your yarn, giving it a little bit of tautness, which is why I like to place a book on top, holding my work in place, and I twist with the direction of the twist of the yarn. And to cinch it off at the bottom, when I'm done with my twist, I find the longest strand in that tassel. I'm going to loop it around my work and tie a knot around the tassel. And I like to do that 3 times to make it nice and secure. So here you can see I've got that strand. I'm wrapping it around my work, making sure it's the longest strand. That way it will give you more room to tie your knot. And if you want to, you can always add a little bit of fabric glue at the end of your knot to secure it a little bit more.